All right, let's see if this works here. Um, settings, copy, stream URL. Nope, that didn't work. How do I share the stream link? Do you just have to go on YouTube and see me live here? Um, Maybe I'll just do that. Share? Oh, here we go. Never mind. Bear with me here, but okay, awesome. Let's just bring it up here. Cool. I hope that you can hear me all right. Let me just make sure my OBS is working. Okay, yep. Seems like it's working all right. Just go into full screen mode here. Actually, before I do that, there was a chat, so I will just have that open over here, and then lets me monitor at the same time. Okay, just looking at chat, live chat. Cool. All right. Well, looks like we are live, and so let's go through these cards here. I didn't choose every single card here that was in the spoiler. I just skipped the ones that weren't as interesting. A lot of the commons, excuse me, and uncommons weren't as notable, obviously. Sorry. Have my whiskey here next to me. Hey, it's Old West theme, so whiskey is appropriate, right? Anyhow, we got Angel of the Ruins right out the gate. We have a 24 mana masterpiece flying. It's an artifact creature, surprisingly not an angel. So that's kind of interesting. Certain cards react to artifacts or interact with them, I should say. It's got cycling 3 for some reason, so I'm wondering if this comes from a set in paper that has cycling. But when this creature enters the battlefield, exile all other creatures and supports. That's kind of crazy. I am still live, guys. I could see you're in the chat. Let me know if you are hearing me okay. And yeah, just type in the chat something to let me know that you're hearing me live here. Then exile all cards from your hands and from your opponent's hand. That's kind of crazy. So it just completely wipes everything out except for this creature. That is pretty nuts. You got to be really careful where you use this. I feel like this is really just going to be something you want to drop at the right time, because that really just puts a total reset on you. So that's kind of nuts. Just go ahead and go full screen here. Cool. We got Annie Flash, the veteran, next. Did Gods just pop in here to say that? I hope he comes back, or if he's there. It looks like my mic levels are fine, so I know he could hopefully hear me, but I'll just move forward and hope for the best here. We got Annie Flash, the veteran, 18 mana creature, human rogue. It's 4/5 and it has flash for some reason. But it's tricolor, so we got white, red, and green. When this creature enters the battlefield, return the first creature or support card with mana cost 10 or less from your graveyard to your hand. Then that card gains full mana. When this creature attacks, exile the top 4 cards of your library, then return the first 2 cards in your exile to your hand, and those cards gain half their mana rounded down. So this is a similar effect to some of my favorite new cards, like Aurelia's Vindicator. Um, it doesn't give them full mana, but it's still pretty good. Um, and this one doesn't automatically give mana to the last two cards in your hand either. It just uh, if you don't have room for the two new cards, I think it won't give you mana. So that's not as cool, but um, still pretty good. uh, so you can get a creature support card with full mana into your hand if as the enter the battlefield effect. I have to think about that to see if there's something that can have a really good ETB that's worth trying to play around with this card here as far as that goes. But um, I think it's a pretty cool card. Feel like it's maybe a little bit overcosted, but with meeting of the five around in standard still, that's an option. Annie joins up. Another tricolor card here. We've got a support, 12 mana with 3 shields. It is a legendary support. Interesting. Enchantment. When this support enters the board, an opposing Vanguard support loses 5 shields, otherwise deal damage, 5 damage to the first opposing creature. So we got targeted or untargeted damage. It's kind of cool. An opposing Vanguard support. I wonder how many Vanguards you can get off the board by making them lose 5 shield. I would say probably a lot of them, but 5 is just on the cusp of being not that useful. I think if it was any less than that, I feel like that wouldn't be something you would want to rely on to get a Vanguard off the battlefield. When a creature enters the battlefield under your control, if that card is legendary, create a copy of that card in your hand. It doesn't get mana, but at least it gets a copy in your hand. So it could be an interesting card. Especially if there's something you can do with it that will, just make the creature do something while it's in your hand. So I don't know. I'll have to really think about that one to see if there's some fun synergy, some sort of combo there. I feel like there is. I'm just not thinking about it hard enough right now. Another round. 14 mana spell card. When you make a match by swap, if this card is in your hand, increase this card's level by 1. Create a copy in your hand of each creature you control. Then those cards gain full mana. Reinforce each creature you control X times. X is this card's level. So that is really kind of crazy, right? It's only a 14 mana spell even. And it's copying potentially 3 creatures that you have on the battlefield, and they give them full mana. So that's almost like deploy the Gatewatch, but it has to be with creatures already on the battlefield. But then you reinforce them. So you're reinforcing them at least once because, well, actually, you're reinforcing them twice because you're creating copies in your hand of these cards. So even without leveling it up anymore, if the level was 0, it'd still be a reinforcement because you're stacking copies of your creatures just by casting them. And then you get an extra reinforcement. So just because this card starts at level 1, but if you're making a match by swap, you're likely doing that. Oh, you had me muted. All right. Good. Cool. So you're here with me. Sweet. Nalthazar popped in a little bit earlier. He said some unkind things to you by praising Koth. No, I'm just kidding. He didn't do that. That's a hard chase card for me for sure. Yeah, for sure. Chris Jensen, you're Acid Rhapsody, right? Cool. Good to see you in here. Yeah, so this is so quickly going to get out of control. I mean, you can just put this with Moonshaker Cavalry, and you're just going to be reinforcing a crazy amount. So, yeah, super good card. Only 14 mana. You would think a card like this would cost more, but good. Glad it's not. And then, you could use Volt Strider and stuff to get it for free anyway. So, pretty amazing. I really like this card. Arid Archway. So I just threw this in here because it's kind of a unique sort of land. Um, it's a land desert. So they're putting desert on all these lands here in this set for some odd reason. I'm not totally sure about that. When this support enters the board, return another support card you control to your hand. If you can't destroy this card, okay. So you need to have another support in your on the battlefield when you cast this. I wonder if it will let you use tokens to use this, but probably not. I'm wondering if it has to be a support card that's eligible to come back to your hand to even use this. But I like that I like its continuous effect. At the beginning of your turn, convert 5 gems to the most present color on the board. So you're getting possibly like a Cryptex type of card. So we like that, I believe. Yeah, I just don't know about that returning the support card thing. It might be all right. Well, we'll see. Assimilation Aegis. Okay, this card is going to be a pain in the ass. It's a 15 mana support, but it's got 3 shields, and it's an artifact equipment. Kind of interesting. It's an equipment. I wonder if that's going to stay on this, but so it's kind of like a shield, right? When this support is in play, the first creature your opponent controls is disabled. Sold. Want it already. For blue or white. Gosh, it's a dual color too. At the beginning of the combat on your turn, gain control of the last opposing creature until end of turn. If it is disabled, enable it, then that creature gains haste. That's cool, but I'm wondering if this will clash with Sleep with the Fishes. I think it will, because I think it will enable it, and then that's it. Then it's just enabled again. So that's the only part of this card that makes me kind of pause about it. But even without that whole thing, this card's kind of brutal because it's got 3 shields and it can go into blue decks. So it's like a super upgrade from Suppression Bonds, and so I'm probably going to be using this card. Aven Interrupter, 10 mana, flash, 2/2, Bird Rogue, so it's an outlaw. When this creature enters the battlefield, your opponent exiles the card with the greatest amount of mana that can be discarded from their hand. Then create a copy of that card into their controller's hand. The card with the greatest amount of mana that can be discarded from their hand. That's a weird effect. So it basically, if that card has no mana, then it doesn't do anything, right? But if they're putting mana into that card, then I guess it makes you reset the mana that you've gotten. But I don't know. That seems like a weird effect that's not going to be super useful. It's an interesting idea for a card, but in practice, I don't see this being super useful. Back in Town. Now, this is a crazy card. 18 mana, spell card with flash. Gauze, I wonder if you're going to put this into a video and put that one, The Boys Are Back in Town song over it. If you do, give me credit for that idea. It's a spell card with flash. Okay, so we're getting more flash cards. Return all outlaw and mount cards to the from your graveyard to the battlefield under your control. So, okay, you need to kind of build that into your deck. Then your opponent loses X life, and then you gain X life. X is the total power of creatures you control. So that can be just a killer right there. You can totally I don't know. It's kind of a win more that part of it at least. And you probably, if you're using this in coalition events, you gotta be careful to hit objectives before you let that go off at the wrong time. But returning all outlaw and mount cards from your graveyard to the battlefield under your control is a pretty cool effect. Um, I think it's going to be a little bit more of a niche card than I thought when I first looked at this, but you know, it's got its uses. It's not going to go in every deck, obviously, but pretty powerful. Boombox. I just love the name of this one. Support card artifact. 14 mana, four shields. At the beginning of your turn, your first creature gets +2/+0 at the end of turn. This is where it gets interesting. Activate 2. Destroy a random opposing card. This effect can affect Vanguard supports. This is my boomstick. Now I'm actually watching live. Do I even know how YouTube Live works? I was about 5 minutes behind. Yeah, when are you going to go live? You got to do that soon. It's been pretty fun so far. This effect can affect Vanguard support, so that's pretty cool. I'm wondering what kind of Vanguards we're going to get when they spoil those. They're giving us some pretty decent Vanguards. Nothing to the power level of Teferi or Tameo, but I like a lot of the recent ones. The LCI ones were pretty good. But I think once Teferi and Tameo and all those Vanguards rotate out, it'll probably be more of a niche thing for people using Vanguards. Especially if you use Commodore, if you're running into Commodore Guff, you're probably going to run into Vanguard. So you might want to pack more extra Vanguard removal if you're seeing that. But yeah, it's just kind of luck of the draw if you're going to get something. But at least this destroys random opposing cards. It's not only Vanguards. But anyhow, I'm probably spending too much time on this card. Bovine Intervention. So this one was one that was spoiled already. And I'm going through the ones that were spoiled already because I haven't really had a chance to talk about my thoughts on these cards at all yet. So I'm just going to do that here. White spell card. Destroy all the creatures and all the gems. All of them. Then create X white ox tokens. X is the number of cards destroyed, including their reinforcements, gain Y life. Y is the number of ox creatures you control, including their reinforcements. All players lose the crime emblem. So I feel like this is probably going to be a better card in a creatureless build. Creating all those white ox tokens could be really cool too, but if you destroy all the creatures, you can't take advantage of it with like Healer of the Pride, for example. You have to do something that either brings the creatures right back to play. Maybe there's something there you could do with that. But I'm sure you can create a ton of white ox tokens with this, so that might be cool. Gaining white life. All players lose the crime emblem. But destroying all the gems, that's always really cool. It's going to be pretty much a nice board wipe, and then you get some benefit from doing that. It'll be interesting. I think this is a powerful card. I just need to actually play with it. I'm not like the biggest global board wipe person. I play those cards sometimes when it makes sense to, but it's not like people like to use these kind of like as insurance to keep from losing is what it seems like. But this one seems like it has a little bit more strategic play that you can take advantage of. All the gems coffee is a direct shout to you. Really? Hopefully tomorrow sometimes. Depends on when I can get away from the fam to shoot the video. Okay, cool. Do you think you'll do it live or just pre-record? Breaches the Blast Maker. This is a kind of a weird card. We'll get into it here. So 16 mana, 3/3, Menace, Goblin Pirate. Kind of a weak card. When you cast your second card each turn, roll a d20. Oh, cool. So yeah, this is a mechanic we haven't seen in a very long time. Is there anything that will take advantage of the rolling a d20? mm, I don't know. Does Dungeon Master or what's his face, the blue mage planeswalker from that set, do they do anything when you roll a d20? Do you get any extra effect from that, or is it just a one time sort of thing? I don't even know. When you cast, yeah, okay. So 1 to 10, you may create a copy of that card into your hand. If you do, that copy gains full mana. All right, well, that's pretty good. And then 11 to 20, deal X damage to a random opposing creature. X is that card's base mana cost. So you're telling me I want to roll a 1 or 10, right? That's what this ends up being. But I do like this card. Those cards that have a lot of randomness to them, they can be fun. They're just so hard to rely on for uh, anything serious. But this could be a fun card to play with. Bristly Bill, Spine Sower. So here's where we get. Zariel doesn't she? Yeah, Mordecaining. That's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, I think so, Zariel, but she rolls d20s, but she doesn't benefit necessarily from d20s that are triggered from other sources. I think it's just her abilities. You just it's a roll of the dice literally to find out what your effect does. But yeah, yeah, I think this might just be a standalone d20 card. I don't think any planeswalkers will really benefit from it necessarily. But we got a 12 mana 2/2 plant druid. Oh yeah, this one's nuts. When this creature enters the battlefield or reinforce, creatures you control get +2/+2. That already is good because um, create a token stack every time is going to be a reinforcement. Oh, but the animations on this card are going to be brutal. Oh no, this is going to suck. This is going to suck to fight against because of that alone. All right. And then landfall, reinforce each creature you control 1 time. At least the reinforcement doesn't take that long. And then landfall, you're just going to be doing a lot of that if you're using a Galta. But oh god, you're just going to be reinforcing a Galta so much. Oh man, this card is going to be sick. I'm not looking forward to playing against it, but it's really strong, I gotta say. I wonder if this will be an exclusive. I don't know, but yeah, this card is good. Bruce, is it Bruce or Bruise? Tall roving rancher. At least it's not. At least it's only when he ETBs and not on any ETB. Oh, it is. Yeah. That's true. But it's reinforced though, so anytime you hit a landfall, you're gonna go through that, which is, I guess, not that bad. I mean, unless you're doing like a Galta loop, you're not gonna be landfalling that often. Okay, maybe that's not that bad. All right, but still, it'll be annoying to face either way. It's a 4/3 human warrior. At the beginning of your turn, your ox creatures gain double strike until end of turn. Okay, so you create all those oxes with that other card, so there's some combo potential there. When this creature enters the library enters the battlefield or attacks, exile the top card of your library. If that card is a land card, create a white ox token. Otherwise, fetch that card. Then that card gains half its mana rounded down. Okay, well, there's a potential to get a lot of cards with half their mana. This kind of reminds me of that card from Eldraine, the original Eldraine. The I think she's like a warrior girl, a red rare creature. When she attacks, you get a card that gains half its mana. And I loved that card when it was in standard. I used to use it a lot. So this is kind of similar. So yeah, I think when it's gonna be a decent card. I think. If this card's a land card, create a white ox token. So you probably want to use less lands when you use this card, unless there are if that's the only way you can create white oxes from that spell or this guy, then maybe not. But I don't know. Do you like? I feel like I like the fetching half its mana card more than the double strike. So, if anything, I would probably just not use land, so I can always trigger that last sentence ability. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Hey, they fixed Nahiri. She pitches from the last card now. Oh yeah, yeah. I covered that in my patch notes review. But yeah, I gotta revisit that Nahiri because she might have gone from a D walker to a C, which is like quite the upgrade if you ask me. But I don't know. I'll never use her in any serious capacity. But um, hey, what's up, Total Siege? Cool. So caught in the crossfire here. 16 mana. It's one of those spree cards. Red spree. So I guess spree can trigger from any gem swap. It doesn't have to be the color of the card itself. So that's good. It makes it a little bit easier to hit spree. I talked a little bit more about that earlier, but so outlaw creatures you control get plus X 0. So that's a permanent buff. That's cool. Spree 2. Deal X damage to each creature without the outlaw subtype. Okay. So that could maybe be alright, but it's possible that your opponent is playing outlaws as well, so that won't do much. And then Spree 3, deal X damage to your opponent's planeswalker and destroy X non-red gems. X is the number of red gems you match this turn. So this is one where you're going to have to build around it, but it can be really strong. You're probably going to want to use it with Guff, obviously, both with the red wizards, the red wizard tokens, and Koth Vanguard. And that already alone is probably enough to get you to winning the game anyway. So this is just going to be a little bit of the cherry on top if you're using it for that reason. So it's nice. It's definitely got the potential to do a lot of damage at it in one turn there. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to run the numbers and see. Get Lars on the case and have him run the numbers and see how often the red that spree 3 is actually going to trigger and how much damage it's actually going to do. We'll see. I'm not completely sold on this card yet, but it is cool. Claim Jumper. It does cost a lot, but I was saying before, I like using Volt Strider a lot. So a lot of times when I'm using cards, spells like that, I'm those ones that just do one effect that you don't really need to chain off a bunch of them. Volt Strider is awesome for those kinds of decks. 14 mana, 3/3 Vigilance, Rabbit Mercenary. At the beginning of your turn, convert X gems to white. X is the number of outlaw creatures you control, including their reinforcements. This is one that you can kind of build around. I'll just have to see what outlaws are worth using the. I see a lot of those cards that create red mercenaries, so maybe that's probably the route you're going to go. But you can also probably pair this with what's his face, Moonshaker Cavalry, and get a lot out of that. But we'll see. I mean, if you can convert like 4 or 5 gems to white every turn with this guy, that's pretty decent. Colossal Rattleworm, 13 mana, 6/5. The beginning of your turn. Oh, it's got flash too. So many cards have flash. And I'm not sure why you want flash on this guy. At the beginning of your turn, this creature gets plus X. I guess if you put it down before the beginning of your turn, then that creature will get that plus X on it. But if you casted this card at the beginning of your or at the end of your turn of your last turn, then what's the difference, right? It's already going to be on the board. I don't know. I guess if you want to make sure it survives the beginning of your next turn, then cool. But okay, X is the amount of desert cards you control +2. Okay, so that's why they're putting desert on some of these lands. When this creature deals combat damage to your opponent's planeswalker, destroy 10 random gems. That's interesting. So I think that's why I threw this on here. 10 random gems means you're probably going to be breaking a lot of token support, so that can be really fun. Yeah, I think that's why I put this in here. Cool card for that reason. I think the flash is kind of needlessly complicated. Moonshaker just makes Galta a massive swing win. Yeah, that's true too. So yeah, it might just be too weak of a card to really make a difference in that deck archetype. Consuming Ashes, 12 mana spell card. Exile the first opposing creature. If that creature has toughness 4 or less, Surveil 2. It's a little bit expensive, but it's a nice little spell card, and you can possibly get some nice benefit with that Surveil 2. Cunning Coyote. Flash means it dodges removal and can attack immediately. Pretty neat. Yeah, I see what you're saying there. The dodging removal for sure. But that's cool. It's got plot 8, 14 mana, 2/2 haste. When this creature enters the battlefield, this card hasn't the plotted emblem. Your creature get +2/+2 and gains haste. I'm pretty sure that's a typo. Because why would it get better if you don't plot it? Trap 8, deal X damage to the first opposing creature. X is the number of red gems on the board, and your creatures get +4/+4 until the beginning of your next turn. You know, that Trap 8 sounds nice, but I don't know why Greg is just able to dodge every trap I set with Hall of Gemstone and Hot Pursuit. I don't know about you guys, but he seems to know exactly where not to swap to hit trap. So Trap 8 is kind of a sham. Still a 2/2. I know, right? Dance of the Tumbleweed, 17 mana, spell card. This is kind of that's a pretty expensive card, but Spree 1, fetch the first land or desert card from your library, then that card gains half its mana. Unless you're using really expensive lands, it's not worth it right there. Spree 3, create X green elemental tokens. X is the number of land cards you control, including their reinforcement. So what I want to know is which ones are the green elemental tokens? They're not the 1/1s because those are forest elementals. Are they the 2/2, the ones that Origins green rare makes, or are they the 5/5s, the ones from PMA? If they're the PMA ones, then this card is worth that 17 mana. But if they're just the 2/2, then it kind of sucks. Demolition Field. Yeah, exactly. Me too. I break my own traps way more than the opponent does. But it's kind of annoying if you're using Hot Pursuit, for example. You don't really get any benefit from using that card unless your opponent matches those trap gems. At least with Hall of Gemstone, you get a lot out of that mana field. Support card land. Interesting that's a land, but whatever. 12 mana, 4 shields. This card is so good. Activate 2 of each color. So they did put the of each color into the cards now instead of just each 2 or whatever the hell it was before. Gain 4 mana, then destroy a random opposing support. This effect can affect vanguards. So watch the opposite be true, where it's super hard to hit those activate 2s. And then it's like the opposite of Greg hitting your trap gems. But yeah, that's so good. Like, truthfully, it's not going to be that hard to hit even one of the activate gems because it's every color. So unless there's just like no gem swaps available to hit, then you're going to be hitting one of these. So yeah, it's going to be doing double duty. You're just going to be wiping your opponent of supports and you're getting 4 mana at the same time. But use anything that destroys gems then you're going to be getting hella mana. So, such a good card. You are lucky, guys, that they're going to send it to you day one, right? We get the spoilers for free. That's how it works. That's how it has worked. And then Desert, 13 mana, 4 shield, support card, land, desert. But not for the support removal. I want the mana. I mean, I want them both. The support control is always great, but most of my decks that I am using right now don't have really anything dedicated to support removal specifically. Mono blue walkers get actual removal for supports in this economy. Seriously, I mean that card is so ridiculous. It's going to be such a pain in the ass to go against, but hopefully you have your own support removal to get rid of theirs. But yeah, so anyway, when a gem is converted to any color, decrease all colored mana bonuses that player's planeswalker by 1 until the beginning of your next turn. When the first opposing creature attacks, deal X damage to each opposing creature. X is equal to your loyalty, then destroy an opposing support card at random. I mean, this card has been talked about so much at this point. I don't know if I have really anything new to add to the discussion here other than yeah, it's just going to be horrible to go against. You're just going to have to really build around it. We did talk about this card a lot in the round table that Nerd Thuggery, I'm sure, is going to put out soon. So it's getting late, so I just kind of want to move to the next card here. Desolate Mire, 10 mana, 3 shields. Activate 4 white. You gain 6 mana and 3 loyalty. I mean, right there alone, that is fantastic. And it's colorless, so you don't even have to put it into a white or black deck. Creatures you control gain Death Touch and Lifelink until the beginning of your next turn. There are things you can do with that that can be really good. I mean, the Lifelink is great. Activating that should not be that hard. I mean, it seems like you're gonna want to put this into a white black planeswalker deck like Dakon, for example, Daxos. But this could really go into any deck you want. I mean, activate white for 6 mana, 3 loyalty. If you're you know, blowing up the board with all sorts of other things, you're just going to be hitting those activate white gems, and it doesn't even matter if you don't get a lot of white mana bonuses. Gaining 6 mana is going to offset that anyway. 3 loyalty. It's kind of like Fist of Suns in that way, where as long as you hit an improved gem, you're going to get that 6 mana or whatever. And that 3 loyalty is also great. Yeah, what a card. This is good. Ran out of names, just desert. Double down. Support card. Enchantment. 16 mana. 3 shields. It is blue. When an outlaw creature enters the battlefield under your control, create a copy of that card in your hand. Then your opponent loses a crime emblem. So that's... Do you get any... Oh, okay. The next part of the card. At the end of your turn, the first outlaw card in your hand gains full mana. So you're pretty much just continuously going to be able to create copies of the creatures that you have in your hand. So it's kind of like a delayed sort of reinforced / ETB. Can you make... I'm trying to think if you can make creatures into outlaws by giving them like an outlaw subtype. Trying to think. There's warlocks, mercenaries, assassins, and something else. Pirates, and rogues, right? I'm trying to think. Is there any card in standard that gives them that subtype? Because yeah, if you can make any creature of yours into an outlaw, then you can just continuously keep casting these cards and getting the ETB effects out of them. So potentially a very strong card, but I'll look into seeing if I catch any other outlaws in this preview here that has a strong ETB. So one that makes assassins. Oh, are you talking about the what's that one called? Coerce to kill? Yeah, it takes a opponent's card and makes him into an assassin. Yeah, that would work. So if you steal the right card and has an ETB, that should like because it doesn't change base power, does it? Or because I'm wondering if you cast a card from your hand that you copied onto that assassin, um, then you will, kind of reset the amount of power toughness that it has, or if it will stay like a 1/1. So if you stack it, it'll just be a 2/2. Oh, and Vraska Vanguard makes pirates. That's a good call. Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. We could do something with that. Ariat the Beguiler, 12 mana, lifelink, 4/4, human warlock. It's got three colors, tricolor. At the end of your turn, if you control two or less creatures, gain control of target opposing creature until the beginning of your next turn. Okay. Um. So basically, it stays on your side, so they're not able to do anything with it. That's cool. They might waste a removal spell on it. That would be funny. If you don't fetch the first enchantment card from your library with mana value 10 or less, that card gains full mana. What good enchantments are there for mana 10 or less? I'll have to look into that. That part of it can be interesting, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head that has 10 or less. Oh, well, yeah, there's like Hixus and suppression bonds and all that. So that's cool. Because you're fetching it, and if you only have 1 10 mana or less enchantment in your deck, then you might be continuously pulling it out. If you have like 3 creatures down already. So that's interesting. There's things you can do with that. Seems nice in Daxos. Yeah, it might be broken getting. Yeah, exactly. Knowing them, yeah, it's very likely, right? Seems nice in Daxos for sure. Hixus, yeah. Ariat's Lullaby. Isn't there an E in Lullaby? Like BYE? I don't know. 8 mana spell card. Destroy the first opposing creature and gain 6 life. Pretty straightforward. I like it. 6 life is nothing too shabby. And yeah, just untargeted destroy. What's not to like about that? Felix 5 boots. Okay, so this card is nuts. This one was one that definitely stood out for me. It's a ridiculous card. The art is so stupid and yet I love it. 14 mana menace with ward and 3 colors. It's a 5/5 ooze rogue. Ward, drain 6 mana from hand. When a creature you control deals combat damage to your opponent's planeswalker, create a copy of that card in your hand. That card gains full mana. So you're just going to be able to copy all of your creatures every turn. So that card we were just looking at that has like, oh, maybe it's cool for ETB, but just use this instead. Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. Final Showdown. 15 mana spell card. Spree 1. Disable each opposing creature until the end of your opponent's next turn. That is cool. So yeah, you're just disabling all of your opponent's creatures with a spell like that. I like that. Spree 2, your creatures gain prevent damage and lifelink until the beginning of your next turn. We always like lifelink, and throwing it on all of our creatures, at least even for a turn, is usually very beneficial. And Spree 3, destroy each opposing creature card, then increase the cost of the first 3 cards in your opponent's hand by 6. That is crazy. 3 really good abilities put into this card, and yeah, so you just got to make sure you hit that Spree 3, right? Got to figure out good ways of doing that. But that's such a good card. Not sure it's going to be good. Well, there's a jello in my boots. That's hilarious. I'm still confused on spree and not sure it's going to be good. Well, yeah, it's so dependent on like your board state at the time, right? Um, the spree is spree supposed to trigger on just non um, swap matches, just ones like can it trigger from like gen conversions from lands? Probably should have read Spree a little bit more closely to know that answer. But if any of you know that answer to that, that would be good to know because, yeah, um, a lot of Spree's effectiveness kind of hinges on how often you're able to actually hit that Spree requirement. Got to make 3 separate matches, I understand. It doesn't have to be a direct swap. Okay. See, you can work with that. If you have, 3 cards that convert gems at the beginning of your turn, it's possible that you'll hit those 3 gem swaps even before you even make a swap. I mean, that's pretty wishful thinking, but still, that would be one way to do it. Fleeting Reflection, 7 mana spell card, blue. Target creature gains hexproof and prevent damage until the beginning of your next turn, then reinforce that creature. So this is just one of those like permanent reinforcement cards, but it's nice that you get hexproof and prevent damage until the beginning of your next turn. So that makes it more likely to survive. I mean, it's these cards that just do like one thing for a spell and that's it. Even if it's like a really good effect, if it's a kind of a temporary effect for the most part, it's usually not worth putting into your deck. But at the same time, for one of these cards, it's pretty strong. Spree doesn't specify swap quick decks and leyline of the guild pack. Stonks. Yeah, okay, good. That makes it a lot easier to hit Spree. So maybe it is a decent mechanic, but still at the same time, you have to be your board state has to be at the point where you can even do that. Otherwise, if you're not playing with the gem conversion, then that makes it a lot less likely to be effective. Free Strider Lookout is a crime card. 10 mana, 3/3 human rogue with reach. At the beginning of your turn, if you committed a crime, pick up to 2 of the first 4 cards from your library. Fetch those cards and destroy those cards, gain 6 mana. So I like this effect, but the problem is it's a creature with reach that's only 3/3. So how are you going to keep that on the board long enough to actually be effective? You kind of have to plan for that, and yeah, I just don't really trust that, and it's not a strong enough ability or an effect to really justify putting that much effort into keeping this thing alive. I mean, it's cool, but it's just going to die really quickly. Geralf the Fleshright. Okay, this one's kind of crazy. 14 mana. It's got level 2/3 human warlock. When you cast a card, increase this card's level by 1. If this card's level is 3 or more, create a zombie rogue token. So the level doesn't go away, right? It just stays at whatever level you put it up to. So yeah, that's pretty good. I think that should be pretty good at creating those zombie tokens, especially in a loop deck. When a zombie creature enters the battlefield under your control. Okay, here's where it gets nuts. When a zombie creature enters the battlefield under your control, that creature gets +X +X. X is the number of zombie creatures you control, including their reinforcements. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, but Acid Rhapsody, you did some math on this to see just how out of control these zombie creatures are going to get, just from, you know, the average amount of level that a zombie gets when I cast a Tainted Adversary is anything from like 12 to 20. So just right there, whenever you're getting the zombie stack, right? Oh, you're talking about the Rhino Boy. Okay, similar idea, but I was thinking, yeah, if you cast this with Tainted Adversary, you don't even need to cast very many. It's just going to get so big so quickly, I think. I mean, not that Tainted Adversary really needs the help, but it goes from nearly being lethal just by putting it out there to being like almost guaranteed lethal if it stays on the board. But yeah, yeah, it's just gonna get out of control really quickly, and kind of nuts. Getaway glimmer. I mean, even without using Tainted Adversary, if you use anything that creates a lot of zombie tokens, I feel like that's gonna get out of control. Like even just his own zombie rogues that you create. If you're in a loop deck, those cards, those zombies are going to get huge, super fast. I think. Um, yeah, that's going to be a problem. I foresee this card being highly annoying. The Rhino makes TA lethal at only level 3. Jeez. Yeah, Tainted Adversary really doesn't need that help. Getaway Glamour. I mean, I was kind of happy not to see Tainted Adversary out in the field very often anymore. But with these cards coming in, yeah, it's going to be a problem. Breaks the game at like level 15. I wonder. Um, yeah, like where they just poof away? Probably. 8 mana spell card. So this is another spree card. Exile target creature, then create a copy of that card into their controller's hand. Okay, so it's pretty much removal with like a little bit of a downside. Spree 2, each card in your hand that is a copy gains 6 mana. So I guess the idea is if you were to do this to your own creature, you can put 6 mana back into it. Destroy the opposing creature with the greatest power, and your opponent loses a crime emblem. Yeah, but it's spree 4. That's kind of a lot. It's a cool card, I guess, because you can both exile a creature and destroy in the same card. So you might be able to get double duty with it. But yeah, relying on that spree 4 is probably not going to work out too well. Hell to Pay. This card looks cool. 12 mana spell card. Deal X damage to target creature or planeswalker. Then create X gold tokens. X is the number of red gems on the board. So I feel like that's going to make so many red tokens gold tokens if you do just the minimal amount of effort to do some red conversion. So, definitely going to want to put this one with Guff, right? Though Guff creates so many red tokens with his wizard that you're actually likely to match a lot of your red gems, so he's probably not going to end up with a lot of red gems. But say that doesn't happen, you're probably going to end up with a lot of gold tokens from that. And then you can also hit your your opponent with some direct damage with however many red gems on the board. So yeah, this is a cool card. Definitely going to be fun to play with. Found reds, cut your losses. Kind of. Right? Yeah, because you're creating a bunch of gold tokens. The only thing is, cut your losses is like a spell that gets you mana right from the jump. And this one, it creates the ability to create a lot of mana for you, but you probably will likely have to wait a turn to take advantage of that. But still, very good card. High Noon. Sorry, guys, they didn't keep your edits into this card here. 15 mana, 3 support card enchantment. I mean, Gauze pretty much covered this card and all my thoughts about it too, which is pretty much that it's too expensive to save, and it really penalizes you, but it also loses a shield every turn. When this support is destroyed, lose a reinforcement, deal 3 damage to each opposing creature. I mean, that's whatever. You really want this card for the disable, right? And then it's just losing shields all the time. You're right. Boo this card. Thumbs down. I'd much rather use that one card that That's like suppression bonds on steroids. Insatiable Avarice, 12 mana, spell card. Spree 1, pick one of the first 4 cards from your library, fetch that card, and destroy the others. I like that. That's usually a pretty useful effect, kind of like Maestro's Charm. Spree 3, all cards in your hand gain 6 mana, then you lose 10 life. So Spree 3, you're definitely going to need to. I wonder if this card needs to be in your hand when you spree, or if you can use this in a loop, and as long as you hit 3 gems, or if you swap 3 gems, made 3 gem swaps, and it carries over into the rest of your turn, or be you have to have the card in your hand for it to count the spree. Because if it just counts it, similar like Descend, and you can just cast any subsequent card, and it gives it the spree when you pull it into your hand that turn. This could be pretty cool. You do got 10 life is kind of a lot, but yeah, I could see this being a combo piece. Karavik the Punisher. Human Warlock, 3/3, 9 mana. It's got one of those little crime emblems. Human Warlock. So I think any of the ones with the Outlaw subtype are probably going to have the crime emblem. That's my guess. I haven't really been paying too much attention to that. When you commit a crime, return the first black card from your graveyard to your hand. Then you gain 10 mana and lose 6 life. This effect can trigger up to 4 times per turn. So yeah, this was another one that we discussed a little bit during our roundtable. So committing a crime, found out it just means that you cast a card with the crime emblem on it. So unfortunately, I didn't find any spells that have it. So that would have been the easiest way to trigger that, I think. But are there any supports with the crime emblem? I've only seen creatures. Maybe there are supports too. I just didn't notice. But I think you can. I think you can build around this card. Um, Gaining up to 40 mana for losing 24 life. That's usually a pretty good deal. Then if you're using things to get your life back, that will also offset that. But this will be a fun one to build around. I'm not totally convinced that it's a really good card, but it seems like it's pretty good. Kumbal Profiteering Mayor. Oh yeah, this card. 17 mana. It's 2/4 Human Advisor, white and black. So it is expensive, but for such a small creature, but we're not worried about it attacking so much. It does cool things. When an opposing creature enters the battlefield, it is a non-token creature. Your token creatures get +1/+1. That part of it is fine. Then create a copy of that creature into the battlefield under your control. That's the part we like. So your opponent's likely going to be playing something that is nasty, and then if you only use this as your one card, then or your one creature, then you just get their creatures onto your side. So that's pretty cool. Your attracts our attract. Yeah, exactly. When a token creature enters the battlefield under your control, deal 3 damage to your opponent's planeswalker, then you gain 3 life. So we like that too. So I guess you're probably gonna want to leave room on your side for those token creatures to take advantage of that part. But yeah, you can do 2 different things with this card. You don't necessarily have to do one or the other. You could, or you don't necessarily have to do both. You can do one or the other. You can build for it that way. But that's really cool. There are things you can do with that for sure. I'll have to think about a little bit more what would be the best pairing with this card, but Getting stuff from token creatures is always nice. Kellen the Kid. 15 mana, 3/3, flying with lifelink. Bit weak, but it is tricolor. Human fairy rogue, so that makes him a outlaw, right? Yeah, because he's a rogue. When you cast a card, if that card has a plotted emblem, create a copy of that card in your hand. Okay, so if you cast a card with plotted, so it has to not actually be plotted first, right? Trying to remember how plotted works. Then that copy loses the plotted emblem and gains full mana. If you don't, convert 2 gems to your planeswalker's color. That's cool. So if you're not playing with plotted cards, this card is still useful, right? All you have to do is cast a card and convert 2 gems to your planeswalker's color. So pretty cool in a mono color walker deck, right? If I had a better handle on how plotted works, then I can kind of assess a little bit better how that will. Maybe I'll look at this card again after I look at plotted tomorrow or something think about that some more. But this could be an all right card. Lila, undefeated slick shot. Creature, human rogue, 3/3, 18 mana. Prowess. So that's like when you draw. Prowess is when you cast a non-creature card, right? The last card in your exile gains the plotted emblem, then return that card to its owner's hand. Okay. Well, if a card gains the plotted emblem, but it doesn't, like just a normal card getting the plotted emblem, that doesn't really do a lot for you, does it? Because plotted only matters when you cast it and it makes an extra effect. So most cards aren't going to have any extra effect from plotted unless it's already a plotted card. And so I don't know. Maybe I'm just not understanding plotted well enough to understand how that's supposed to work. At the end of your turn, the last card in your hand gains full mana. Well, we like that part of it. Okay, so this is really going to help you cast your plotted cards. But you want the ones that already have plotted on it. I don't know. I really need to go back and replot it. I know I should know it better because I was the one who spoiled plotted mechanic. But maybe it's just because it's late for me. Lively Dirge, 10 mana. Potential loop enabler. Oh, you mean the Kellen or Lila? Lively Dirge, 10 mana, spell card. Spree 1, destroy the top 2 creature cards from your library. Oh yeah, this was a part of it that I thought was interesting. Destroying your creature cards. So that's great to pair with, Tortoise or like Tyvar, the Planeswalker. Nissa of Shadowed Boughs, obviously. Can't forget her. Then Spree 2, return the first creature that costs 12 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So, you can either choose to work with that part of the card or not. But I like that the Spree 1 is useful as well. It's a little expensive for the for what you get out of it, but I like that both Spree 1 and Spree 2 have the potential to help you with certain strategies. Lock and Load. This is a cool card. 16 mana. It's got plotted, plot 16. Masterpiece, blue spell. Discard your hand and draw 4 cards. The last 2 cards in your hand gain full mana. Then, if this card has a plotted emblem, return each opposing creature to your opponent's hand. So, not only do you get like some nice card draw, discard draw, and then also those two of the 4 cards that you draw are going to get full mana, and then it also is a nice board wipe for your opponent's side. So What a nutty card. That's very strong. Even without plotting it, though you're probably in most cases gonna want to do the plot 16. Awesome. Loot the key to everything. 14 mana masterpiece. 1/2 tricolor. Beast noble. I don't know what is up with this character. It seems like Wizards is really pushing this monstrosity on everybody, trying to convince us it's a cute creature, but I don't like those teeth. When this creature enters the battlefield, this creature gains shield counter 3. Okay. Then exile the top 10 cards of your library. That's kind of a lot. So there are a lot of things that can take advantage of that, right? Yeah, anything that pulls things out of your exile, like connecting the dots, Aurelia's Vindicator, all that. At the beginning of your turn, return a random card from your exile to your hand, and that card gains full mana. Okay, so it also gets to take advantage of that as well. So, this can be a pretty cool card. The shield counter 3 means it's going to be around for a while, hopefully. Only problem with it is just the 1/2. So it's really just like a support disguised as a creature at the end of the day. It's not really going to be doing much for you attacking wise. So yeah, it's going to be up to you to decide if this is worth putting into a viable deck, really, because you're going to probably want a creature or a support doing the same things that this creature is doing for you, and using a stronger creature or something that does a different type of effect as a creature than this card. But I don't know, maybe not. It's kind of like Somberwald Sage, where she's basically a strong land disguised as a creature too. But it's an interesting card. I kind of like what they're doing with it. Right, he fuels himself. That's the best part about him. Mind Raider, 15 mana, 5/5 with trample. It's a human rogue. When this creature enters the battlefield, create X gold tokens. X is the number of creature cards you control, including their reinforcements, plus the number of outlaw cards in all graveyards. So that has the potential to just flood the board with gold tokens. Just put every available, put some gold in every available space on the board easily. Yeah, just excuse me. Just pair it with any token generator. Or even that, just put a lot of outlaws and creatures in your graveyard if you can do that. At the beginning of your turn, if you control another outlaw, this creature gains double strike until end of turn. So even without that, it's still a super, potentially just such a great generator of mana for you. And it's an ETB, so even if this card doesn't attack ever, it's still worth it. It's like almost like a spell. Yeah, this is a really good card. Actual old Gnawbone. Yeah, exactly. Good luck converting through that amount of gold. Yeah, that's cool too. God, Gnawbone is still a pain in the ass to go against with all the if you're playing a green conversion deck, you have a chance. You really have a chance to stall out with when you're facing a Gnawbone. So yeah, this can be the same sort of thing. Cool. Okay, Pest Control, 11 mana spell card, black and white. Spree 1, each opposing creature gets -1/-1 to destroying opposing card at random. Okay. Destroying opposing card at random is cool. It's a little expensive at 11 mana though, for if you're only to Spree 1, but Spree 2. So I'm kind of factoring in the Spree 1 because, like, how strong is the Spree 1, because you know that's going to be a guaranteed effect if you cast this card. So it can be a strong, the rest of the card can be strong or weak, but I feel like the card effectiveness will hinge a lot on the spree 1. Spree 2, each opposing creature gets -2/-2, then destroy an opposing card at random. Okay, so that means like it's a second card that gets destroyed. Opposing creatures get -3/-3 for each of their reinforcements. Then destroy an opposing Vanguard support at random. Okay, so this has the potential to not only wipe away 2 opposing cards, but also a Vanguard support. So it kind of reminds me of a little less reliable Invoke Despair, but it also comes in white, so it's a dual color, and it's a lot cheaper than Invoke Despair. But yeah, pretty strong card, I think. Is it gonna go in a lot of my decks? Probably not. At 1, the card, yeah. I think if you're hitting spree 2 consistently, even though it's kind of overpriced, at 1 the cards are solid. Yeah, yeah, I do think this is a solid card. It's probably, I don't know, is it good enough to make it into a lot of my decks? Maybe. I'm a little bit. I'm not completely sold on this card's strength. Plan the heist. 12 mana, plot 12. Destroy the top 3 cards of your library, and then draw 3 cards. If this card has a plotted emblem, those cards gain 7 mana. That's the part of it I like. So drawing 3 cards for 7 mana. For plot 12, you get 21 mana out of that. Pretty strong. I guess I'll just remain to be seen how difficult it is to do the whole plot thing. But yeah, this is a pretty good card for an uncommon. Even at 12 mana, I think that it's potentially pretty good. Prickly Pear. I just threw this in because the name and the art is ridiculous. Like these like plant contra dudes. Creature, plant mercenary. It's weird that they're red and not red-green, right? 8 mana, 2/2. When this creature enters the battlefield, create a red mercenary token. What are red mercenaries? Are they just like 1/1s or 2/2s or something like that? Probably. Railway Brawler. Okay, this card is insane. 15 mana. It's got reach and trample, or it's got trample, but it's got reach. So that is the one downside to him. He's 5/5. He's got plot 15. When this creature enters the battlefield, it's this card has the plotted emblem. This creature gets +6/+6. So 11/11 with reach will block most things, but you gotta be careful with the Galta. When a creature enters the battlefield under your control, that creature gets +X/+X. X is that creature's power. So I'm curious, does that mean... I'm wondering if that might be a typo, and I'm wondering if they meant to say this creature's power. But either way it works is pretty insane. Yeah, like we were talking before with the other dude. Putting a tainted adversary down, you do the math on that. So it's basically just going to like double every creature entering the battlefield in that regard if you're doing big token stacks. So yeah, it has the potential to get really out of control. But yeah, I think this was one of the standout WTF cards. Because yeah, probably a typo. The reason I'm saying that is because that whole +6/+6 is like, what does that have to do with the rest of the card? Like I feel like they did that on purpose so that your creatures will get even stronger if you do the plot thing. But who's ready to find MTG first integer error with brawler and tainted adversary? Oh yeah. Whoever gets this card first, I feel. Rakdos joins up. Oh God, yeah, probably. Uh, will this be the fastest nerfed card if somebody runs into it in their first battle or something? Rakdos joins up. 15 mana, 4 shield, support card enchantment, red and black. When the support enters the board, return the first creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. Then that creature gets +3/+3. That's cool. There are other cards that do similar, but it is red, so you can use this card in mono red, or gives you the ability to bring this into other decks that aren't black. When a non-copy legendary creature you control dies, deal X damage to your opponent's planeswalker. X is that creature's power. So you could do fun stuff with this, right? You could sack your Galta stack or Atraxa stack, anything like that, and just win the game that way. Especially if if you're not playing with a hasty creature. So yeah, this can be. I feel like this can be pretty strong in the right deck. Most of the time, if you're playing Galta Atraxa, you don't need a card like this anyway. But I think this could be a fun card. It's interesting that it's legendary, but anyhow, I don't know. If you guys have ideas for this card, yeah, let me know. Rakdos the Muscle, 16 mana, 6/5, demon mercenary. That's kind of a fun idea. A demon mercenary. Yeah, I'm a I'm a beast from hell, but for hire. Trample and flying as well. Black. When another creature you control dies or loses a reinforcement, exile the top X cards of your opponent's library. Okay, so that can synergize with all those cards that take advantage of your opponent's exile. Then gain X mana. X is that creature's base power. I like that. Trying to think of what to pair this with. I mean, there's plenty of things to pair it with, but that's cool. I'm trying to think. Is there anything that put into the battlefield? Oh, like what's his face? The Cloud Scraper from this set, the Masterpiece. It's got 30 mana in it. So, oh wait, no, that's mana cost. Never mind. Base power. What's the strongest base power right now? Is it still Gaia's Revenge? So yeah, if they manage to get rid of your Gaia's Revenge, you get a lot of mana from that. But that's cool. Activate 4. This creature gains prevent damage till the beginning of your next turn. When a creature has prevent damage, but also doesn't have any built-in like vigilance or berserker or anything like that, does it really matter that much? There's usually not a lot of reasons to. Rakdos joins plus Rakdos for MKM seems nice. Yeah, let me think of that. Yeah, when a non-copy. That's true. Yeah, because it just keeps growing more and more, right? Every turn, and it gets pretty big pretty fast. I mean, not amazingly big, but it does that. That reinforcement matters for sure. Requisition Raid, 15 mana, spree, spell card, white, destroy. Oh yeah, this card is cool. Spree 1, destroy each opposing support card. This can affect Vanguard supports. I mean, that's already like cool. Sign me up. Like that Spree 1 is an amazing Spree 1. Spree 2, destroy each opposing creature card. Okay. And then Spree 3, creatures you can. I mean, how funny that they put the worst part of this. I mean, I'm glad they did, but they put the worst part of this card as the Spree 3. That yeah. I mean, that's so good. It's like Ruinous Ultimatum, pretty much. It's yeah, it's pretty much like a mono white Ruinous Ultimatum. That's ridiculous. Does Rakdos Hired Muscle work the way we want with giving a tainted adversary stacked per imminent death like you just gained 60 mana? No, because it's working off of base power, not total power. See, gain X mana, X is that creature's base power. See, I was thinking kind of the same thing too, but you can't. Well, is there anything? I mean, not that you would need to do this, but if you throw what's his face, um, uh, well, actually, yeah, you probably won't need to because what do you call it? If you're doing this combo right, this will work or this will kill your opponent anyway. But throwing Streetwise Negotiator and changing the base power for that turn, and then it loses that reinforcement at the end of your turn. That should give you like all the mana that you'll ever need, right? Let me know if that's correct. Would that work right? But anyhow, we are at Resilient Roadrunner. 10 mana, double strike, haste, and berserker 2/2. That's pretty weak, but it's possible that you can do some fun things with this. When this creature enters the battlefield, all opposing creatures gain the coyote subtype. When this creature dies, if your opponent controls a coyote creature, return this creature to the battlefield under your control with its reinforcement, then reinforce this creature. So it's meant to die first, right? And then it just gets better and better. Only thing is I wish it had trample, right? Because the cards with Berserker that don't have trample a lot of times end up being a kind of a waste. A lot of times they won't do enough for you. You kind of wasting a creature attack on another creature. And for me, if I don't already have a way to destroy a creature without having to bash into it, if I'm not doing something like that, then my deck is not right. I need to fix that. So, I like this card a lot more if it had trample, but I always like those little hasty double striking guys like a lightning runner and all that. Thing is, this is not nearly as good as lightning runner, but it's still an okay card. Rise of the Varmints. I already spoiled this one. Did a whole video on that, so we can skip this one for now. I would go over a little bit more, but it's getting kind of late. Roxanne, Starfall Savant, 15 mana, 4/3 Cat Druid, red and green. When this creature enters the battlefield or attacks, create a small meteorite token. When an artifact support is reinforced, gain 6 mana. So, Kilroy and I were theorizing on this that the small meteorite is going to be a token that can stack on itself. Like when you create a new one, it just reinforces the one that you create. I have no idea if that's going to be the case, but that's the only way I could see this card being all that useful. Because I'm trying to, well, I don't know. With Virtue of Knowledge, you can get a lot of reinforced artifacts. I'll have to look into this. I mean, maybe there's a combo here that I'm just not thinking about at the moment, but there's potential. I'm definitely going to keep an eye on this card. Russia Dread, 15 mana. Spell card Spree. Your opponent discards the first 2 cards from their hand. Pretty good. Destroy the first and last opposing creatures. Also good. Spree 4, your opponent loses X life. X is the number of cards in your opponent's graveyard. So this card does triple duty. The first 2 cards, or first 2 parts of this card are going to be the part that matter the most. Spree 2, I'm hoping is not too hard to get to. I don't imagine it to be so. I think these spree cards, if you're going to be playing with a lot of spree, you're going to want some continuous gem conversion anyway. That would be my recommendation. and so maybe the spree 4 is a little bit easier to hit than I think, but I'd mostly be playing this card for the 1 and 2. L9 Chase. Yeah, for sure. Rustler Rampage. Oh, this is just kind of a nice little solid card. 7 mana with flash. Spree 1, your first creature gains vigilance until the end of your next turn. Okay, so this card has spree but flash. Can spree still trigger on your opponent's side? There are ways of making that happen, but like if you had like Healer the Pride, for example, and then your first creature gains double strike until the end of your next turn. So I mean, maybe that's not even the flash part of this card. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. Maybe I just don't understand spree well enough to understand that part of it. But still a decent effect. It's kind of like no, I was gonna say something else, but that was not the right card I was thinking of. But giving vigilance and giving a creature double strike is usually pretty relevant. But again, it's one of these cards that's one-time effect. So it's really with only 10 cards available, it's just not enough of a card to really warrant its inclusion in a really serious deck. Sandstorm Verge. This is a land desert. At the beginning of a turn, convert 4 gems to the most present color on the board. So that's cool. I'm wondering if this card will trigger the first. It will be the first land to trigger. Because if you can trigger it later on in your phase of lands converting, then you could really take advantage of that conversion there, and it will always convert to something you want, right? Activate 2. Your opponent's first creature can't attack and can't block until the beginning of your next turn. That's pretty cool. I mean, for a land to have something like that, it's kind of like a little junior desert, but still pretty neat. I do like that converting 4 gems at the beginning of your turn. Spree lasts until the end of Greg's turn. Okay, so it does. There is some utility in having it gain flash. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Satoru the Infiltrator, 8 mana, 2/3 human ninja rogue. When a creature enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. That's cool. That's not something that black usually has the opportunity to put in their decks, but I kind of like that. Then if that card has plot, the card gains half its mana rounded down. Otherwise, gain 4 mana. So that's the part of this card that I like. The gaining 4 mana. When a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it's going to gain 4 mana, or you're going to gain 4 mana. So yeah, token stacks. Talking about Tainted Adversary. Ooh, this will be good with Tainted Adversary if I'm reading this correct, because you're just going to get all that mana back after casting this, so you don't have to worry. You don't have to rely on like Heal of the Pride to get your mana back. Definitely gonna have to test this card, because if that's the way it works, then that is awesome. Satoru is actually crazy. The desert probably super valuable for a new account. So yeah, so you're reading it, I think, the same way that I am. If you say that it's actually crazy, because it should trigger on token stacks, right? There's no reason it shouldn't if I'm reading it correctly. Yeah, that's gonna be actually crazy. You nailed it. Selvala Eager Trailblazer, 16 mana, 4/5 creature, elf scout, both white and green. It's got vigilance, but when you cast a card, create a red mercenary token. It's kind of weird, right? This green and white creature creating red mercenaries, but so yeah, you're going to be creating what is it? What is it called? Outlaws. Almost call them criminals. And creatures you control get +1/+1. So yeah, get that nice looping going, kind of a Ovika Junior happening there. But you also get the +1/+1. That can be annoyingly slow with the animations, but I kind of like it. And then at the end of your turn, convert 7 gems to the matched color. Does that mean the color you matched when you swapped at the beginning of your turn? I'm not totally sure what that means, but I'm just converting 7 gems is always pretty nice. Yeah. Unless like Aurelia Law above, you don't have room to draw the other effects don't trigger. Oh yeah, probably. So at the most, if you have like um if you have no cards in your hand, the most mana you can get is 24. I mean that's it is what was oh wait, never mind. No, it's 4 mana, 4 times. So yeah. Oh no, I'm right. Yeah. Though if you have no cards in your hand, there's nothing to give them mana to, right? I don't know. It's getting late. Don't listen to me anymore. Slick sequence, 7 mana, flash, spell card, deal 6 damage to any opposing target, then draw a card. Yeah, this is just like a kind of a nice little spell. Pretty straightforward. Um, kind of an interesting little loop piece. Put it in any card that, yeah, it's kind of just like a really, what do you call it? Like exquisite firecraft with an extra benefit. That's kind of nice. Even getting 24 mana at base isn't awful. Yeah, no, absolutely not. Especially if you're playing like Tainted Adversary and you're just gonna get some mana back anyway, and hopefully maybe cast the next card in your hand. You could arrange your hand so that you could take full advantage of the amount of mana you get from casting a token stack like that. But yeah, that's cool. Smuggler Surprise, 10 mana spell card with Spree. If you control a creature with power 4 or greater, creatures you control get +2/+2. And that's pretty whatever. Spree 2, destroy the top 4 cards of your library. If a land card was destroyed this way, return the first 2 cards from your graveyard to your hand. Okay. And Spree 4, the last 2 cards in your hand gain half their mana rounded down. The reason I think this card can be okay is because it's a green card, so you're probably going to be running a lot of green gem conversion. So I don't think Spree 4 should be very tough to get to in most decks that you would use this in. But I think that's the only reason I would use this card, because there are other cards that do the other things that this card does better. But I think putting all 3 of the Spree effects into one card makes it for a decent card at the end of the day, I think. Stolen Goods. 22 mana spell card. Oh, but this card is so nuts. Create a copy of all opposing non-token supports under your control, then return all opposing non-token cards to their owner's hand. So pretty much you just take all of your opponent's stuff. You're basically just, stealing it in that way. You are putting them back into your owner's hands, or into their hand. So it's likely that they can recast them. But, if their hand is full, then they can't, because they're all going to destroy, right? That 22 mana cost is kind of a lot, but there's so many ways to get cards out without pay, especially spells, without paying for them in any like gem swapping way. So I'm not too worried about that. This is a really strong card. It might not be useful in every situation, but it's still really good. Dahada Vanguard A3 with upside. Oh, you mean Stolen Goods? I see what you mean, yeah. Because it takes everything of theirs, but it leaves it on your side, which is a nice part about it. Dahada's oh yeah, the Vanguard A3. Yeah, that's what you mean. I never use the Vanguard A3, so I forget what it even does. I thought it just takes opponent's creatures for 1 turn and then gives it back to them, right? Take up shield, 10 mana, spell card, white. Target creature you control gains +2/+2 and gains lifelink and prevent damage until the end of your next turn. Okay, so this remind me of Enshrouding Mist. A little bit better, but a lot more expensive. So, still a cool card. Still could be useful in some decks, but definitely one more for the newbies. I could see a newer player really liking this card. The Gitrog, Ravenous Ride. I love the art on this card. It's just kind of stupid. Like the people flying all over the place. Frog Horror Mount. Saddle 3. I haven't really run into a lot of saddle cards, actually. 15 mana, 6/5, black and green. So, pretty decent body. It's also got haste and trample, which is good. Saddle 3. When this creature attacks, this creature is saddled. You may destroy target creature you control. If you do, draw X. Okay, so you get the. That's already a difference between this one and Thalia and Gitrog. Because you can choose. If you do draw X cards, then convert X gems to one of that card's colors. X is this or that creature's power. Okay. Well, that's pretty awesome because if you're sacrificing a stack of tokens to this guy, then you get a lot of usefulness out of it. Though it only happens when this creature attacks, so you can't really necessarily loop with it. But that could be cool, especially if you're using something that creates continuous, like regenerates creatures for you. Something like Thopter Spies, Windgrace's second ability, stuff like that. That could be pretty good. This could be a fun card. Definitely want to play around with this. The Key to the Vault. Lets you trigger those destroy effects. Yeah, true. The Key to the Vault. 16 mana, 3 shields. Equipment artifact. When your first creature deals combat damage to your opponent's planeswalker, draw a card and that card gains full mana. I mean, so that's just for having a creature attack. You get a card with full mana. I mean, what's not to like about that? It's an equipment too, which is not sure why, but I don't hate that. It's legendary as well, so there are ways to get legendary cards out. We use like Joda or something like that. We'll get this artifact on the battlefield quickly. Golden Wish, since it's an artifact, we'll get it on the board quickly as well. Yeah, a lot of ways to get this on the board, and then it's just going to be paying itself off for you like every turn. Pretty good card, I have to say. It's quite a good rare here. Tiny Bones joins up. 9 mana enchantment with 3 shields. Wasn't there something that puts an enchantment with 10 mana or less into play? So maybe this could be a candidate for that. When the support enters the board, your opponent discards the first card without mana from their hand. When you cast another legendary creature of support, destroy the top 3 cards of target player's library, then your opponent loses 3 life. So yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting. Continuously being able to destroy, continuously milling like that. You will have to build around it, but that part of it could be pretty interesting. And then the losing 3 life is cool too, because that should trigger Ob, the masterpiece creature. So yeah, there are things you can do with that. I'll keep an eye on this one. If I can remember to pair this card with Ob, I could probably do some wacky things with it. Tiny Bones, the Pickpocket. 1/1 with Death Touch for 7 mana. Skeleton Rogue. The other card that puts enchantments under 19. Oh, under 10. Yeah, I can't